Hello fellow space engineers. Today I want to talk about a very interesting subject regarding the upcoming updates of the game, especially the planets and hopefully some form of gravitational attraction that they're gonna have. So right now I am using the natural gravity mod by Digi. I came across this mod by watching some of the videos made by Spets. He has a great channel, so I suggest you go on ahead and check him out. You won't be disappointed. So, in this planetoid that actually comes with the mod, or is in the workshop too, I decided to install a few of the modules from the Gaia class carrier that I made, the droppable modules that you can land on a planet from the underbelly of the carrier to make kind of like a small base. But I'm not going to talk about the modules right now, so let's go on with the main theme for this video, which is how gravity is going to affect the space planes or the aircraft that you build or the spacecraft that you're designing. So I decided to make a little showcase of two designs that I have. Now with this mod, in this planetoid, I'm only registering 0.5 G, which is a little bit above of Martian gravity. So basically half of Earth's gravity. And I'm gonna try out these concepts that I'm talking about with this alligator bomber, which is one of my older designs. The first like fighter bomber craft that I designed. It has this retro look with a paint job that resembles an alligator. And the Hummingbird Dropship that I already made a video of earlier, trying to simulate how it would behave in a gravity environment. Okay, let's hop into the cockpit. You will notice that in this mode, when you activate the jetpack, you're constantly being brought down by gravity. So you have to constantly compensate, which is a nice addition. So let's try to hop in. There it is. Now, with this mode, and I hope in the future with the addition of natural gravity to planets, you realize that many of your designs are not going to have VTOL capabilities as you would expect. For example, this one, it has 4 downward facing thrusters to aid with the elevation, but at full capacity they do nothing. I mean, basically the craft is just like stuck to the ground due to the gravity. So what this is forcing us to do is trying to do like a regular takeoff as any aircraft nowadays would do, by using the power of the main thrusters, the 3 main thrusters, which actually have the capacity to lift and escape this planetoid's gravity. So let's move forward and elevate the nose and take off. So as you can see, this is an actual takeoff. Yes, we're leaving natural gravity. Okay, we're outside of the gravity well of the planetoid. Now let's return. See how it goes with the landing. Entering natural gravity, and I'm being drawn to the planet, and as you can see, the the inertia dampers are activated, so they're trying to fight the fall into the planet, but I'm still falling. Small thrusters alone, especially a small quantity of them, are not enough to keep you from falling. So you need to, if you want to fly low, you need to kind of like compensate with the main thrusters, or just bracing spacebar, which for some reason doesn't seem to work that well. It actually makes you fall faster. So basically you have to just keep pressing forward and bringing up the nose of the aircraft. Spacecraft, well, it's kind of like an aircraft now. So let's try to touch down without crashing it. really hard to do this and not break the landing gears, especially if you don't have enough downward thrust to do this basically slow landing. I think it's going too fast. Yeah, it is. There you go. It's unavoidable. The only way to prevent that is to actually add more downward thrust. And it's something to keep in mind for the designs, because you don't want to, you know, overwhelm the reactors in your craft, or basically consume a lot of the uranium or the energy that you have stored in the batteries. So you have to keep a balance on those designs. Okay, that goes for non-VTOL craft. Now let's try to go to the next landing pad, where I'm going to show you the Hummingbird. Now this is a completely different approach, but it is actually a little bit more complicated, because the way of flying it is kind of like similar to flying a helicopter. So you need to have separate controls from the main thrusters, auxiliary thrusters. Basically what happens is that you have to put, let's see, there. You have to configure the hotkeys in the bar below to power the thrust, the forward thrust and the downward thrust. So it's not gonna activate the main thrusters when you press W to move forward. It's actually just going to activate these small auxiliary engines, kind of like the turbo engines of the helicopters nowadays. And that's just to give you fine control. But the main thrust is going to be provided by these main thrusters that do have the capability to have a vertical takeoff. So let's try that now. Let's rotate the engines. Now you're gonna see some effects here that are gonna take place. I have to increase the thrust. And there, you see, it's taking off. It's really hard to control right now. You have to do a lot of minor corrections. And you can already tell that you can do this like side strafing, like incline the nose to move forward as if you were inclining the main rotor dish of a helicopter. It's really interesting to fly like this. It brings a whole new dimension to the game. Of course I have the inertia dampeners on to compensate. If I was to turn them off, then the aircraft would like power up vertically super fast or fall super fast to crashing into the ground. And remember that if we're talking about VTOL aircraft or helicopters, there's a number of effects that take place in such machines. For example, the ground effect. There's the drag generated by an atmosphere, and we don't have an atmosphere here. So basically there's nothing to generate drag to make us lose energy and stay close to the ground. So you, without atmosphere to generate that drag, and with the full main thrust, what we're gonna do is basically just shoot out into space, and it's gonna deny us of this capability of have fine-tuning capacity. For example, I'm pressing C here to try to get a bit lower or lose a little bit of altitude. This system might be a little bit more complicated, but it's actually safer than the one you saw before, which I broke the landing gears. And you can find a sweet spot for this kind of flight, in which like a configuration of power for your main engines, and you basically can hover. Of course, if you have the inertia dampers activated. This just makes me wonder what kind of, you know, effects developers are going to add to the game when it comes to what I was saying before, like drag or lift. Like, how are you going to generate lift inside of a planet that has an atmosphere? Maybe they can make like a coefficient for the amount of surface, of horizontal surface that you have with your aircraft. For example, you can make like a flat top aircraft, and that would count as a body lifting type of craft, or maybe add some wing blocks, which I'm not quite, you know, not too crazy about that idea. Or if there's gonna be like some kind of gravity repulsive thing, which I don't like either. I actually prefer these designs which are closer to physics, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to go into the I menu and show center of mass. So we're talking about design, and if you want to create a VTOL, you have to take into account that the center of mass for the aircraft has to be perfectly aligned with the main axis of the thrust, the two main thrusters. So for example, in this case, the center of mass is the asterisk that you see right in between those chairs, those passenger chairs, and the axis of thrusts are these ones that you see on the wings, as shown. You know, basically they are basically over the rotors that activate the main engines. They are not perfectly aligned. The main thrust is a bit forward to the center of mass. That's why when I'm taking off, the nose is going upwards. Ideally, what you want is a clean vertical takeoff, like perpendicular to the ground. So to solve this, what I have to do is add more weight to the nose until these centers of mass that you see there on the wings align perfectly with the one that is between the chairs. There I can achieve a perfect vertical flight without having to compensate, you know, pulling up or pulling down on the stick. So what about horizontal flight? Destroying the lights here, the main thrust. Okay, but horizontal flight is basically the same. The center of mass has to be right above, well, not right above, like aligned perfectly horizontally with the center of thrust. Otherwise, when you power up, if your engines are too low, they're gonna push, they're gonna put more thrust on the belly of the craft, making the nose lift. Or if you put them too high, they're gonna basically bring the nose down. So for transitioning between vertical and horizontal flight, you have to take that into account. The center of mass in both cases have to be perfectly aligned with the center of thrust. If you played Kerbal Space Program, you basically know how to do this. So I'm gonna try to land here. Okay, I landed. Power the engines down. Move them away from the ground. And now I'm gonna show you the whole transition from vertical to horizontal flight. Disengage landing gears, bring the engines downward, increase thrust. Okay, that's perfect. So if you want, you can basically incline and then slowly transition. Whoa. There you go. That's how you do it. Let's... Okay. Inertia dampers off. Delete those annoying asterisks here. Okay. And we are off. We're away from the planet. Now, from here on, you can basically just fly it as if you would fly any other spaceship, being careful not to have super tight turns that would put a lot of stress on the rotors. Otherwise you will end up breaking them off and having no main engines at all, or just a single main engine, which in a gravity environment would overturn your craft, your VTOL craft. Well, that's all for now. I hope you have enjoyed this tiny demonstration of a little bit of physics and design characteristics of spacecraft. Have a nice day.